So my XRP friends out there, welcome to a new update video. At the moment, we're trading at $2.20. And last week in the video, we talked about how XRP absolutely had to hold a certain zone. And what can I say? We did it. And not just by a little, but really, really strongly. We're back at $2.20 after being at $1.80 last week. So that's a complete price increase. Of course, this is also due to the XRPFs that were launched, or rather, let's take a closer look at the numbers so you can stay up to date and see where things might be headed next. You'll definitely find out all about that in today's update video. But before we get started, as always, feel free to give the video a like, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and of course, check out the free Telegram talk and Signal group. You'll find the links for that for free down in the video description, and once you're in the group, you'll get all the information. If I go long, if I go short, or if I make any changes to my trades, you'll definitely hear about it there first. So with that said, let's not waste any more time. XRP at $2.20. And wow, what a move. Last week, we were still here in this area, I think around $2.10. Back then, I warned that we must not fall below these two blue lines, otherwise things would look bad. And since then, we've risen by 25% at the peak, though it's a bit less now, but still a really strong move. And why? What was so important about these blue lines? Again, for everyone who didn't see last week's video, those would have been the weekly closes. That means we would have had a lower weekly close here at $2.01. And in the end, we had weekly close number one at $2.04. And the second time this week, we also dropped into this region again. But nothing worse happened. So basically, this whole movement that we've seen for months now at the top with XRP is, on the one hand, a consolidation, but on the other hand, it's still an intact upward trend. Why? Because in the end, we have higher highs, higher lows, higher highs, higher lows. If we ignore the wick for now, I wouldn't really count that in at the moment, but basically, we're still in an upward movement. And this is still the big but, the volume is miserable. The RSI still has the divergence, which has played out a bit clearly. By now, we only have 42 on the RSI. That means the risk of a dump isn't that high at the moment, at least. If we look back at the past, that was always a sign that, okay, we still have room down to 30, but as I said, a slow dump is usually even better than a fatal one, like the one we had here. The only problem I currently see in terms of the overall market is that we have no volume in the market. And we don't just see that with XRP, we see it with a lot of altcoins right now, that the volume has just been gone since that crash back on October 10th. The volume has simply disappeared. We're missing volume. We're somehow missing confidence in the altcoin sector. That's not so great. That's why we just barely missed my price target here. That would have been up here at around $2.30. We only went up to $2.28. Too bad. But all right, a pullback should now come first in the area of $2.08 to about $2.05. Why? Because down here, on the one hand, we still have a large vector candle. Let me quickly remove the blue here. We still have a vector candle in this area. Down here, we have a demand zone, in other words, a support zone. We should revisit that, and from there, start a new upward wave. By wave, I mean that we could assume this pump here was wave 1, wave 2 would go down here, and then wave 3 would go all the way up. A breakout, which could possibly even take us to a level of around $3. That's the bullish case. Let's definitely take another look at the ETFs before we get to that. But if you want to trade XRP, for example, you can do all of that on my partner exchange, BingX. The link for that is also in the video description. You can secure up to 11,500 USDT in bonuses if you complete a few tasks and things like that. Plus, you're also supporting me by doing so. And right now, there's also the Points Festival going on, where you can win cool prizes. If you trade $1,000, meaning you reach that trading volume, you get 1 point and can then exchange it for prizes. Anyway, back to the chart. On the one hand, the volume is weak and the structure itself. We still haven't really formed a higher high here. For me, this area here is crucial, simply where the sell zone would have been. And if we take a look at the XRP ETF inflows, the first ETF, the Canary XRP ETF, had a total of 147 million. Inflow, okay, on the first day 104, on the second day only a tenth of that, and by now we're down to just about 3 million or 309,000. Then the Franklin XRP ETF, 2 million, 3 million, 30 million. So there as well, a complete collapse. Bitwise XRP ETF also collapsed. Grayscale went from 32 on the first day to just 2 million. So there too, we're seeing drops of 80 to 90% by now. And if we look at the total, yes, on the first day, 300 million, 111,356 when a new ETF was launched. You really have to say it's a positive sign that there are deposits being made at all and not sales. That's a positive thing. In contrast to the Bitcoin ETF, which is currently seeing more sell-offs, but there should be more coming. And this also means that XRP is now under Wall Street's influence. No matter what you think about it, whether an XRP ETF is positive or negative, it's now in Wall Street's grip, and that's how it will be traded. In my opinion, this makes the whole game with XRP significantly more difficult. Even if the Ripple US dollar, which came out a few months ago, is becoming a bit more important in my opinion, especially regarding stablecoins, as we've already said with Circle and USDC, that the stablecoin market will be much, much more profitable than XRP could ever be in any respect. Feel free to prove me wrong. You're welcome to write your thoughts about it in the comments below. But for me, the stablecoin market is much, much bigger than whatever XRP is still trying to do. But anyway, now we have ETFs. Let's see if this support down here holds. We can definitely keep going a bit further to the moon for now. Otherwise, yeah, there's not much else. Definitely take care of yourselves, take profits. Last but not least, maybe let's quickly take a look at the funding rates for XRP right now, because that's always a bit of an indicator. Unfortunately, they're positive. Previously, they were completely negative, which is always good for XRP because for some reason, XRP's funding rates don't really shoot up explosively. But when they do turn positive, so it's better to expect some pullbacks in order to possibly catch wave 3. That's it from my side in any case. I hope you enjoyed the video. As I said, feel free to leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And with that, I'd say we'll see each other in the next video next Friday or in the weekend live stream on Sunday. Thank you so much. Wishing you all a wonderful weekend. Until then, ciao, ciao, and as always, stay crypto.